Mashke, Azure Briggs, Himacha, Shante Washtea, Napeche Yuzapelo, Logan, Utah, Iktawachi, and Logan, Alaska, and South Dakota, Himatahan. Hello everybody, I'm Azure Briggs. I greet you all with a warm heart and hand, and I live in Logan, Utah, and I'm from Utah, Alaska, and South Dakota. So I am white and I am Lakota. On my mom's side, they live in Utah, mixed European descent, and on my father's side, I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe in South Dakota, and we identify as Lakota. I live in Logan, and I'm going to Utah State University, pursuing my undergrad in landscape architecture and environmental planning with my minor in sustainable systems. And yeah, I'm passionate about bridging the gaps that exist between our modern world of Western design and knowledge and science with traditional knowledge of the landscape. So, yep, as Alex said, I'm going to show you guys a design proposal that I've worked on over the last 7 weeks of a native plant demonstration garden. It's located at the research center itself, which we got to stay at, which is within the Bears Ears National Monument, and it's showcasing plants that have cultural significance to the tribal nations of the Bears Ears National Monument. So first things first, I'll give some site context. Kristen already gave a really good introduction to what the Nature Conservancy is, but yeah, it's a global environmental nonprofit working to create a world where people and nature can thrive. They have tons of awesome projects all across the globe and awesome programs like this one. And they purchased the Dugout Ranch in 2009 for sustainability research, and which developed into the Canyonlands Research Center. Those are their partners, and yeah, I mean, you already got a background, so I'll be quick, but they have tons of awesome projects, and I think we can all agree when we entered this site that it is just a very inspiring place to be, and it's beautiful, and when I got there, I felt inspired to contribute to everything that is going on here. Here's a map for context. There's the, let's see, I got it. There it is right there, ocean. That little region right there is where it's located within. And I also included this map to the right, the region of the native eye, because I think it's a really good reminder that these rigid borders are somewhat new development in human history, and that for generations that indigenous people see this landscape through the lens of like interconnectedness without rigid borders. So just a reminder of that. So Bears Ears National Monument is an extremely sacred place with a lot of significant cultural, historical and aesthetic importance to the Ute Mountain Ute tribe, the Navajo Nation, the Ute Indian tribe of the Uinta-Ute, the Hopi Nation, and Zuni tribe. They are all a part of the Bears Ears Intertribal Coalition of Bears Ears National Monument. And my garden is representative of all of these nations with signage and names, and I'll get more into that in a bit. So there's an opportunity, there's problems that exist within the world of design, and there's also opportunities that I saw within this site to have, to contribute towards fixing these kinds of problems that exist. So by preserving, promoting, and communicating information on culturally important plant species, demonstration gardens present an opportunity for visitors to engage with the indigenous history of the landscape. So given its super significant history and context, the Canyonlands Research Center is a super ideal location for a demonstration garden, which would enhance its existing educational opportunities. So the problem that this is attempting to address is the fact that demonstration gardens and scientific communication in general on these topics can pose problems to region because when they don't address the true history by hindering the preservation and promotion of culturally important plant species and limiting educational opportunities. Demonstration gardens that lack information on traditional uses and names contribute to the erasure of history. And so my question is, how can we create a culturally informed demonstration garden that contributes to the preservation of culturally important plants and enhances the educational opportunities at the CRC? Okay, so why do this in the form of a demonstration garden? So they can do all sorts of things. They can help with cultural preservation in the sense that there's signage, so it's showcasing and passing on knowledge. It's very like hands-on and tangible. It's right there in front of you. You're outside, you're in an outdoor setting. Outdoor classroom spaces tend to kind of create more curiosity and interest compared to just being inside and learning. And it creates more environmental awareness. So you're entering the site, you're walking around like the pathways, you see a sign, you're way more aware of like how important these plants that exist are. So just creating environmental awareness for visitors of like where they are, especially in a place like this, like I said. And then just overall ecological sustainability. I think we're very out of touch with the fact that plants should be appropriate to the region with landscape design. So emphasizing native plants because they're well adapted, so they require less fertilizer, little to no water, they contribute to pollination, and they're just a very great model for sustainable landscaping practices. So a main source of inspiration for me throughout the last few years as a landscape architect student is the Lakota Medicine Wheel Gardens, and then especially with designing this garden. They are some of the only gardens that I've found that have like proper signage where they have like the Lakota name right here, and showcase traditional uses and knowledge of plants, and kind of bridge that gap between like our modern world of like interacting with our landscapes and traditional relationships with the land. And these do an awesome job of that. And obviously it doesn't make sense to do a Lakota Medicine Wheel Garden at the CRC, but I draw inspiration from these, and there's like aspects that shine through with my proposal that I've learned from these gardens. Okay, so my methods for going about this project. I performed a lot of qualitative research, literary analysis, interviews, and collaboration with one of them being Arnold Clifford. He's a Diné native scholar, field botanist, ethnobotanist, and geologist. He was super helpful. Same with my mentor, Ross. He's a chair and professor of biology at Fort Lewis, knows a whole lot about plants, so that was awesome, thank you. And yep, a whole lot more, but I'm trying to be fast. And then just kind of my own like field observations, I think you call it, like site analysis and design. Worked with Kristen Wrench, who's super helpful in like learning and doing documentation of the site, which you'll see, kind of almost like a firm client relationship almost. We walked around, so yeah, that was awesome. Used GIS data, some analysis, and yeah. So this is a bit ridiculous, but I just want to showcase all of everything that kind of went into all the plant research. There's so many plants, but then you end up needing to have a pretty like simple palette when it comes down to it. And all of this kind of boiled down to like a relatively small speaking, so about 20 plants that I was able to determine I would want to incorporate using all these resources. And we were limited in a lot of ways, but I still was able to come up with a good diverse palette. So this is the site. I was able to get this drone footage. There, I think Alex and Kristen are like right there chatting. That's just me walking around. But yeah, so it's become very lush, and with Kristen, I was able to develop this. It's super messy. This process is messy, but it's just getting all of the existing conditions down. So all the plants out there, kind of what to keep and not keep. The water systems, like where is water going? What areas are the driest? Where the key viewpoints are. So from the building, there's little arrows like where are like people going to see, and like where are people drawn to, and where should these emphasis zones be, and more. Which leads into the kind of the concept. So this is highlighted in orange is where I determined the most like important zones to be like the focus areas, especially in this area within zone 1, because this area has existing irrigation, so it opens up the opportunity for more plants, like different plants to exist because there's water there. And they're also the most visible from the center. As you're walking in, you see it. As you're sitting on the porch, you'll be able to look out and see signage of plants. Zone 2, you start getting to be a little less water, a little bit harder to maintain, should start being more self-sufficient. And then zone 3 should just kind of be good on its own, but there'll still be signage and plants, especially some different ones that can handle the shade with the tree cover from the cottonwoods as well. So my results are in the form of like plans. So I want to, so the plant database, it's like pages long. It was a bit ridiculous. So I'm just showing 3 of like what it looks like in my Excel file. This was a whole project on its own, and there's still so much more to be filled in, but I learned so much in creating this database. So once I figured out the plants, I created this planting plan. So you can see there's a legend that correlates to like where all these plants would be located roughly. I incorporated a picture of every plant that's on the list. As you can see, like this is a super arid environment, but these gardens can be like colorful and lush still. That's kind of like the stigma about these like xeriscape and native plant gardens, but we just need to look more deeper. So they really can be colorful and lush, and this garden would be, so yeah. Here's a more visual representation of the garden with color. It's also highlighting some shade structures and stuff besides plants, but there's a little bit of visual representation. And then just some design exploration, starting to think about signage, the shade structures, planting arrangement, and like I said, the signage. Because it was quite the challenge figuring out. There's so much information. All these signs, they normally just have the common name and scientific name, but then you want to show all of these indigenous names and all these uses. It's a lot to tackle, and it's hard to like simplify everything and boil everything down. But I think it's possible, and I think it needs to be done. So this is a picture of the site, like as you're entering. Just pay attention, like kind of like this area right here. This is where I'm going to like that's kind of like the key focus area, and I drew over it to kind of show that it would change from just being the salt brush that's taken over everywhere to be species of plants as you're walking down. And then here is like the point of view if you're sitting on the porch looking out, and instead of seeing overgrown grasses, you can see all kinds of native plants. You can see Princess Plume, Hopi blanket flower, there's the yuccas and the juniper, and the Rocky Mountain bee plant, which is one of my favorites. And so in conclusion, yeah, I mean, obviously a garden like this would take a long time to truly implement. This is just a design proposal, but I've become pretty invested in this, and I do care to like carry this on into the future. And so as far as like what that would look like, I want to see how I can maybe incorporate this into my senior coursework through USU. I think that'd be super cool. And then from there, like look towards the tribal nations more, and the Nature Conservancy and the CRC to continue collaborating. And then from there would be, we'd start developing these signs and ordering them with the company and figuring out the irrigation plans and the maintenance plans, and then implementing construction with, for example, like the Navajo Ramada shade structure would be like with Navajo builders, and just getting the plants in the ground really. So that's what I want to do moving forward. And then just in general, not written here, is I just feel very excited to bring everything that I've learned here into my studio at school for my senior year, because I just have learned so much about the true importance of understanding like the true relationship with this land and how important it is for the plants to be appropriate to the region, and contribute this to the field of landscape architecture, which really is very like male and white dominated. And so as like a white and Lakota woman, I want to like do my role in kind of like working to reframe that in this world of design. So yeah, tons of awesome people that have helped me along the way. Thank you all so much. And let's see, that's all I have for you guys today. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And I do have a QR code that you guys can go ahead and scan if you feel comfortable doing that. There's a question you can ask. You'll see it on your phone too. I'd also just select if there are any questions that you guys have right now. So yeah.
Amazing. Questions for Azure? I have a question.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, you mentioned the influence of the Lakota medicine wheel. Can you expound a little bit on how you use that in your final plan for the Timberlands Research Center?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just the way that they, first of all, the signage, because signage was one of the first things I talked about, and I just knew from having these photos of the Lakota medicine wheel garden saved on my computer for years that like I've seen signs like this before. How come I've only ever seen them like from these gardens? So that's when I first thought about this. But like my family's history of being Lakota, we think of things in the 4 sacred directions and the 4 seasons and the 4 elements and what each quadrant represents as far as planting goes. So there's specific plants associated with each quadrant. And while that quadrant wouldn't exist within this garden, I draw inspiration from taking note of what those 4 key plants would be in this garden for each tribe, because they don't necessarily have medicine wheels, but they have similar things within the 4 directions where certain plants are represented. So I incorporated that and think of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Any other questions for Azure? I just have a comment, if that's okay. So I just wanted to make a comment that it's been such fun and a pleasure having you take such interest at the research center. And I'm excited to hear that you want to bring it into your senior project. That means we get to spend more time together.
Yes, I agree. I hope it works out.
Yes.
I really do.
Yeah, that's great. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for the work. I watched you work on this and just the level of commitment to your project is really neat. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll say that all of the drawings and designs that you saw out there are only a fraction of, I think, your total portfolio that you worked on for this. So Azure has done even more work than you are seeing today. So,
Yes.
great job.